Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Aldine and today I want to tell you about my BPD diagnosis story. Firstly, I'm going to give you a rundown of events before I was diagnosed, and also I'm going to tell you about after the diagnosis. Now I'm doing this for two reasons. I'm doing this to let you know that you are not alone, and also to let you know that you can change, you can improve. You will see where I was and also now where I am. And it's possible. BPD is not a life sentence. Don't let anyone fool you. You can be healed from BPD. It's not a life sentence. You can change, you can improve. And with that, let me tell you about a little about my life story. So, when I was in high school is when I believe the issues began. I didn't know there were any issues at that time, but looking back now, I can know those issues that I was having were associated with borderline personality disorder. Firstly, I was always acting out. I was getting detentions. I was always in trouble. I deliberately got into fights with people. I didn't get along well with others. And there were a lot of issues, but I didn't realize that they had anything to do with any mental illness. Fast forward now to the end of high school. This is when I kind of start to figure out that something may not be right with me. Now, during all this time at high school, I had a few friends. Yeah, and went to parties, had fun with them, whatever. But at the end of high school, I began to want to withdraw from everyone. I started to keep to myself. I started avoiding people's phone calls. I didn't want to hear from anyone. I was, I just couldn't maintain any relationships. I couldn't maintain any relationships at all. I would always find faults with people, I always have issues with people. And I began to smoke a lot of weed because being away from people started to make me depressed. I started feeling a lot of depression, and plus, I also started to become socially anxious. So it was a double whammy. I whenever I went out, if I tried to talk to people, I started feeling this overwhelming feeling. I just felt weird and crazy, and at the same time, my friends who were trying to reach out to me, I was totally avoiding. So you can imagine it was a real negative effect on me. So the only solace I could find was in smoking weed. And I wasn't just smoking weed, I was devouring weed. I was waking up and smoking weed from morning till night. And weed got me in a lot of trouble. I don't really want to go there, but eventually I got into some trouble. And during that period, I was isolated from my family and isolated from everyone, and that even made it worse. When I was reunited with my family, and I became a totally different person. I was totally withdrawn altogether. I started to do all kind of crazy stuff. I can remember one time this was in my 20s. I was driving on the road, and I remember this clearly because that's one of the times when I said, "Wow, something's definitely not right with you." And I was driving, and this bus driver, he kind of gave me a. It was a he did a bad move while driving. What we call a bad drive here in Jamaica, and I actually drove my car in front of the bus and cut him off in the middle of traffic, and came out of my car, went in my trunk and pulled out my lug tool, the tool that you use to put your tires on and take them off. And I actually was going to go on the bus, and and hit the driver with the lug tool. I was luckily a friend was there with me and said, "Are you crazy?" and kind of snapped me back, and because I would have got into some serious trouble. I can remember another instance where I was at the gas station and I think I may have overpaid the attendant and I went off on her. I was about to get in a physical altercation with her, and the whole gas station and people on the road were looking. I was that loud, and those things brought me to a culmination, and I came to a culmination. I kind of realized that definitely something's not right. And at around, this was in my late 20s, I think around 27, 28, I went to see a psychiatrist. Now, this psychiatrist, I told him about my issues, and he said, "You have bipolar disorder." And I didn't know much about mental illness. All I knew was that something was wrong with me. So I kind of accepted that. And he put me on Paxil and he put me on Xanax. But looking back, I know I didn't have borderline person. I know I didn't have bipolar disorder, I should say, sorry. Because when I looked it up, it said about, I never experienced mania. I never experienced like days when I wouldn't sleep and days when I was just super ecstatic. So I kind of figured that diagnosis was off, but I didn't know much about mental illness. And he had me on these psychotropic drugs, and they had me feeling really weird. And during this time, I was in and out of jobs. During my 20s, I probably went through around three or four different jobs or five different jobs. I just couldn't hold on jobs. Nothing suited me. I couldn't get along with the people at work. Social anxiety was killing me. And a lot of issues, a lot of relationship issues, a lot of stuff happening. Eventually, the psychotropic drugs did help to calm me down, but they made me feel totally out of it. And eventually, I decided I don't like feeling like this. I don't like the side effects. I felt really weird. And they weren't really helping me that much with the social anxiety either, which was one of the main reasons I was on them. So I stopped taking those, and wow, I went cold turkey and I went into a drug. It was the worst feeling ever. I don't try doing that. I went cold turkey and stopped taking those medications, and I was cold sweats. I was shaking. I was shivering for about a week, but eventually I came off of it. But then one day at work, I totally lost it. I told everybody at work a bunch of bad words, and was swearing at everyone. I, I I literally walked out of the place. I was supposed to close up. I was supposed to check off the cashier or whatever, and I just literally walked out. I just literally walked out and left them, everybody, just like that. And I don't know. That that was another crazy thing I did, and I lost that job. And eventually, I started to do some my own thing, selling on the road and whatever. And from there, things went downhill. And I forgot to mention, but I had got married during this in my 20s, and my wife was there with me through all of this, and she was suffering through all of this as well. And our relationship was on in in issues because of my mental issues as well. And because of these issues, I also, when I lost my job, I she went to Canada, and during that time, I I totally lost it because when your significant other is away from you, when you have BPD, that's the worst thing possible. So I started thinking all kind of stuff. I got super jealous. I was thinking everything imaginable. She was doing this. I accused her of everything in a book and put a huge strain on our relationship. It basically got me to a nervous breakdown, and then she actually came back when I was at that my lowest point. I was at my lowest point, and she came back, and that is when I went to see a psychologist, and I explained all that was happening to me, my behaviors, and she said, I think I know what you have. And she went through the 9 symptoms of borderline personality disorder. And when she went through them, I said, wow, this is exactly what I have. I fit the bill for all nine. I fit the bill for all 9 symptoms. And a lot of people are terrified when they get a diagnosis, but I was relieved. I was so happy. I said, wow, now I know why I behave like this. Now I know why I do all of this crazy stuff. And this was the beginning of me improving, because now I knew ways to treat this. And I started doing research for everything, and I found all kind of ways to deal with treatment. And because of my previous experience with psychotropic drugs, I said I'd never take them anymore. And I found all kind of natural treatment options and began on that process. And since then, it's been an upward momentum. I've gone from strength to strength to strength. And that is one of the main reasons why I started this channel, because I want to share with you all the tips and strategies that I've learned to overcome this illness. I'm not fully over it, but trust me, compared to when I first got diagnosed, I'm so much better. And in case you are where I was, I just want you to know that you can improve, and there are ways for you to improve. And that is why I'm sharing this story. I just want you to know that things can change, and I want you to come along with me this journey to improving, to treating your illness, to becoming a better person. So, if you want to learn some of the tips and strategies I use to improve, please subscribe for more information. I will give you all the tips and strategies that I've learned and teach you all the several improvement tips that I have learned along the way. So if you got any value out of this, please hit that like button so others like you can see this video, and subscribe. Thanks for checking out this video. I appreciate you all. I love you all and look forward to doing other videos like this for you in the future. Take care and God bless you.